Welcome into the quick crash course on the Sicilian Defense. I'm Grandmaster Igor Smirnov, and within this short video, you're gonna learn everything that you need to know about it. Alright, let's start from the very beginning. White goes pawn e4, their most played move, and now the Sicilian Defense arises from you responding with pawn to c5. And the very first question you may be having is, why to even play it? Why not to play the standard move pawn e5? Well, in that case, we've got a symmetric position, but because white starts the game, they are the one who's going to be attacking and you are going to be defending. And a lot of players do not like that. They say, you know what, I'm going to play this asymmetric Sicilian defense where, I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to counterattack. I do not want to be a defender. That is why a lot of dynamic and attacking players love this opening, such as Fischer, Kasparov, and many others. And the first purpose of the c5 move is to control this square, so that white cannot play d4 himself and to build up these beautiful pawns in the center of the board. Now, after d4, there are certainly a few main ways for white to go about this. Usually, the main line is the so-called open Sicilian. It is when they play knight to f3, getting ready to play d4 on the next turn. And here, let's say you go d6 to control the center, to open up the diagonal for your bishop, and then white goes d4. It is called an open Sicilian because white breaks open the center, opening up a lot of diagonals and files for his pieces. And that is why, again, it is an open Sicilian. Now, why did white need to have this knight right here on f3? Because after the trade, white does not want to recapture with the queen, because in general, in chess, you do not want to expose your queen early in the game for attacks. That is why white wants to have this knight right here, so that he can recapture with a knight. And now he's got, indeed, some advantage in the middle of the board, but black also has this semi-open file and his own counter chances. Now black usually goes knight f6, attacking this pawn and developing their own knight. White plays knight c3, also to develop and to guard this pawn. And from here we've got a variety of options that black can choose from. Now, the most played option here is a6, known as the Najdorf Variation of the Sicilian Defense. There's also the Dragon Variation, which is really aggressive, and also the classical variation knight to c6. These are the most played options, and we're going to talk about them one by one. The Najdorf Variation characterizes by black playing pawn to a6, the favorite opening weapon of Fischer, later Kasparov. Here, pawn to a6 does a number of things. First off, it covers the square b5, so that white can't ever bring the bishop right there, or the knight right there. Plus, if black ever plays queen c7, and he often will, this will also secure this queen from those attacks. This is the defensive role of this pawn, but it also has a more aggressive option. The more aggressive way is to push b5 down the line, and then from there, I'll just play some random move for white just to illustrate the purpose. If black goes b5, you see that from here, the pawn can possibly harass this knight, therefore threatening this pawn in the middle of the board. Plus, it's going to be this advanced fianchetto where you can put your bishop right here to this long diagonal and exert pressure. So that is the aggressive idea behind this little pawn move, pawn to a6. Now, back to the real theory, white certainly has different ways to play here. They usually will develop one of their bishops, the light squared or the dark squared. And typically, against the Sicilian defense, it is considered most dangerous for black if white tries to castle queenside. Why is that? Because of course white can play some modest development moves such as this ones and then castle and something like this, and it is alright for white to do that, but it does not create any threats, any problems for black, and black can do whatever they want. That is why if white wants to attack and be more aggressive, they usually opt for something like this, where they try to quickly develop their queenside pieces, castle queenside, and later on they can expand on the kingside and attack you. And because this attacking plan is so clear, a lot of players really love that. Now, what can you do about that? Well, here the classical response for black is playing pawn e5. The beauty of the Najdorf variation is that it's very flexible. You can decide the right setup for you depending on what your opponent does here. And here, since we know that white is going to be so aggressive, you can also try to be more active. And you play e5 to kick the knight out of the center and to gain some space. Then usually black goes bishop e6 and continues with bishop e7, castles, and knight to d7. That is the usual setup that you play. And from there, we've got a complex position of the middle game. White will usually try to develop according to their plan, castle queenside, and now we have opposite side castings. White is likely to be expanding on the king side. You're going to do the same on the queen side. As always, in the Sicilian defense, you have this beautiful file for your rook, which is going to support your attack, and we are expecting a sharp battle. The next variation of the Sicilian defense is the Dragon Variation. Your dark squared bishop is barricaded along this diagonal, and therefore instead you want to put it to this long and really great diagonal. It's going to exert long-term pressure onto your opponent's position. The Dragon Variation is considered to be one of the sharpest, so if you love attacking, that is the one for you. Here white will often use the very same plan. They're going to play pawn to f3, a very classical move for white, to overprotect this pawn in the middle of the board and also to control the square g4 so that you can't ever jump there with a knight or with a bishop. And then you can see that more or less we have quite a similar setup to what we have seen before. We've got opposite side castles and both sides are going to attack the king of each other. That's why the game is going to be very sharp. Now you have this dark square bishop, which is going to support your attack. You have this semi-open file for your rook, which is again going to be useful for you. That is your advantages. On the other hand, for white, they also have a very clear attacking plan. They can play pawn h4, h5, trade it off to open up the h file for his rook. They also want to play bishop h6, thanks to this battery, trade off your bishop, who is the main defender of your king. And together with this pawn push, white has this really easy attacking plan. That is why in general, it is considered that the dragon variation is a little bit dangerous for black and more advantageous for white. With that being said, usually this is pretty much everything that white players know about it. And if you're willing to study a little bit deeper, you'll usually have a big edge over your opponents and you can actually crush them badly. Moving on, there is also the so-called classical variation, where black says, wait a second, in an opening, I'm supposed to develop pieces, so let's avoid any fancy pawn moves, let's do just that, let's develop. And they go knight to c6. Certainly makes a lot of sense. Here in this position, the main move by white is bishop g5, trying to pressure this knight because potentially they can double your pawns, and then in general their plan remains to be the same. It's queen d2, castles queenside, somewhat similar to the previous variations we talked about. However, in reality, the most played move by white here, I believe, is bishop e3, where white is trying to put up the exact same setup with, queen d2, pawn e3, and castles kingside, which we talked about before. And now there is a very interesting trap that you can try as black. You can go knight g4, threatening this bishop, and if you take there, it's going to ruin their pawn structure. They certainly do not want that. Once they move the bishop away, then you play queen b6, and this time it's a double attack to this knight on d4. But the trick here is if the knight takes on c6 or moves back to b3, basically makes any move with this knight, instead of recapturing, you're going to surprise your opponent with this sudden checkmate. There is also a more modern and very aggressive system that you can play. It is known the Sveshnikov Variation of the Sicilian Defense. As we enter this position, if you remember, we could play d6 entering the classical variation, but you can actually become a lot more aggressive and play pawn e5. Now, back in the day, it was considered a bad move because it weakens these squares. You've got this backward pawn and some weak squares where white could potentially land their knight somewhere in the future. And so this move was considered a positional error, 100 years ago. But nowadays, people also discover that it has a lot of advantages as well. Because first off, you're attacking this knight. It's an attacking move. You also gain some space. You open up a diagonal for your bishop. You kick this knight out of the center of the board. And therefore, it is aggressive and it has a lot of merits as well. Now, the first question you may be having here is, how about white simply taking on c6? And the answer is, it is basically never a good idea for white to do that in the Sicilian defense. Why? Because first off, you're trading your most active piece, this centralized and advanced knight. Secondly, it allows black to strengthen their center. Well, now these squares are weak, you can actually move this pawn from a side of the board closer to the center of the board and control this square. Notice that now he can't ever jump with his knight forward. Moreover, in the future, down the line, maybe black will be the one who'll break open the center of the board with d5 and will actually occupy the center entirely. Therefore, taking on c6 is never a problem for you. It also gives you this semi-open file for your rook, actually a lot of good stuff. Therefore, if your opponent is willing to trade, great for you. Now, the usual move for white here is knight to b5. This is the correct move. I'm not saying usual because most of your opponents will actually go wrong. But among pros, knight b5 is the main move, aiming for this weak square d6, therefore you cover it. Then they go bishop g5. They notice that knight to d5 is coming, so they want to pin your knight and take use of this weak square. But now you play a6, kicking this knight out. It has no good squares to go to. It has to go back to a3. And after b5, this knight is totally restricted. It can't go here anymore. Plus b4 is coming to attack these both knights. And down the line, clearly there's not going to be a smooth brotherhood of these two knights, because while the knight on c3 is going to have a bright future, standing here on d5 down the line, but on the other hand, this knight has no future at all, right? It has nowhere to go besides going to b1, which would be quite an epic, anti-chess maneuver, because the knight literally made a whole lot of effort just to go from one starting position to the other one. So certainly that's not what white wants. Either way, for black, you're gonna just complete your development, of course, as usual. Play bishop e7, bishop e6, castle, and we have this imbalanced position with mutual chances for both sides. The next variation is something I would really recommend that you consider. It is the so-called accelerated dragon. And first off, I really love the title. Like a dragon already sounds frightening, but the accelerated dragon is like a thriller. But here's the idea. So here basically you follow the same idea. You encounter a queenside bishop so they can put pressure down the line towards the center and they're queenside. Also, right now you're actually attacking this knight on d4, but they have no worries. They play bishop e3, their standard move, and defend a knight. Then you develop, and so far it looks like standard Sicilian that we talked about before. If you want to play pawn d6, that would transpose into the usual dragon variation. But since you cap this pawn on d7, it gives you an additional thing that your opponents overlooked. You can strike in the center with d5, and by that you seize the initiative straight away. You start attacking white before they could even complete their development. And that allows you to develop that crushing attack pretty quickly. So here after d5, now you start putting pressure down here, potentially with a bishop, maybe e5 is coming, a lot of stuff. And if they try to simplify matters, you know, that actually helps you. We talked about that before. This trade allows you to strengthen your center, and it also gives you this semi-open file for your rook. Both things are great. Moreover, if they trade right here on d5, you could recapture with a pawn or with a knight, which might be even stronger to open up this diagonal for the bishop. Now you start putting pressure here, and after this trade, you know, your bishop is still becoming very active. You can see why this dragon variation is so powerful. This bishop is indeed a dragon. Now they need to guard the pawn, so let's say they castle, but now you can also take advantage of this semi-open file. And let me show you one potential variation. Of course, it's not totally forced, but it just goes to show all these common attacking ideas of black in the Sicilian defense, and in particular in the dragon variation. So you can see why a lot of players find it very interesting to choose this opening. So here, let's say white goes b3 to cover the pawn. Now we go queen d6. Still threatening queen a3 check, and together with the bishop, you know, that's going to put up this checkmate after queen a3 followed by queen b2. So let's say they try to get their king out of danger, but now you can play bishop f5, still targeting the king, getting ready to also put the rook into play. And if they try to kick this bishop out, now all of a sudden you've got this rook sacrifice that wins the game. So guess what? They can't take with this pawn because it's pinned. So this move is forced, but now queen a3, and you can notice how this dark square bishop is a sniper bishop that always supports your attack, standing far away. Now queen b2 or queen a1 is a checkmating threat, and if they try to block the diagonal, then queen takes b3, you still exploit the pin, the very same one, and then after a couple more checks you get the job done and win the game. That's how cool this dragon variation can be. By the way, if you enjoyed this, I've got a dedicated video about the accelerated dragon. I'll link it down in the description. Besides the main lines, there are a lot of offbeat, tricky, aggressive variations that your opponent can try against you, so let me quickly walk you through them. The first one is the so-called I don't know how to play it variation, where they play bishop c4 almost as if you played the classical Italian game instead of the Sicilian defense. But in this case, the bishop c4 move makes not much sense because you don't have the pawn right here. You can play e6 and totally barricade the bishop. It has no future. Moreover, in the future, you're gonna play d5, gain the center control, and kick this bishop out of here, therefore white achieves nothing. The other idea of white is to play the so-called closed variation of the Sicilian defense, meaning they're not going to aim to play d4 and to open the game. Now, the downside of the closed Sicilian is that it's quite slow. They're not trying to challenge you, and they're not creating any problems, and therefore you can basically develop however you like. Usually they're going to fianchetto their kingside bishop, you're going to do the same, putting your bishop to a very open and nice diagonal, and then on the next turn, white has some attacking plans. Maybe they want to play queen d2 and bishop h6 down the line, trading this one, or maybe f4 and expand on the king side a little bit. But either way, all that stuff is very slow and not very efficient. So you just need to complete your development. You can play e5, then develop your knight, bishop, castle, and you're good to go. There's also an aggressive Smith-Morra Gambit, very popular at amateur level, where white is trying to gambit a pawn for the sake of quick development and gaining good attacking chances down the line. So what do you do against that? Or against any other aggressive, unusual gambits that you're unfamiliar with? Now, let's take it back. There is a common advice here against all of those offbeat variations. So first off, don't be greedy. Don't take those high calorie pawns. That's what your pawns are hoping for. Instead, what you want to do is to control the center and develop quickly. That is it, right? So don't be greedy, control the center, develop quickly, against anything. So here, instead of trying to help them to develop their knight, you can actually strike in the center yourself. And then you could simply recapture, which is fine, or even better, to avoid exposing your queen, you can do that with a knight. And then on the next turn, after whatever white does, you then take this pawn, complete your development, and you're fine. And if you want to know the best opening for white to crush everyone below 1500, check out this video right there.